live. Yeah, yeah, we going live. Hey, hey, we going live. Yeah, yeah, we going live. Yeah, yeah, we going. Yeah, yeah, we going. Yeah, 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 we going live. From the 50-yard line, we going live. From the 50-yard line, we going live. From the 50-yard line. Hey.
Correct.
And so, in saying that, when did you see the need for game day preps?
It's funny, man. My homie was the one that started it. He was just doing running backs. He was a friend of mine. We're pretty much family at this point. We've known each other for years. But he was training running backs, and this was a guy who's the best running back I'd ever seen, bro. And his talent was just God-given. Like, he does things that you could tell, like, God put him specifically to do that, right? So when he was training kids, it was almost like he's trying to train them to do the things that God blessed him to be able to do. And he was working with kids like that was young, and I was just like, yo, that's dope, man. Like, you know, I want to be a part of that. But I hit him up and was like, bro, I want to train offensive linemen, because once I finished, you know, I was coming towards the end of studying sports psychology, and a homie just invited me out to the park to kind of just watch kids play at the optimist level. And what I noticed was, and this was just like going to football games, period. Whenever things go wrong in the game of football, bro, who's the first to get blamed? Offensive lineman. Yeah, bro. And I felt bad, man, because it's like you can tell a lot of these kids haven't been taught to play the position. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of it is just, most schools just grab the biggest security guard and be like, all right, come coach offensive line for us. And it's way more than just fire off the ball and, you know, do this and that. It's a skill set. Like, it's very, you know, cerebral. It's a mental game, because we have to deal with guys like yourself who's more athletic than me, right? Jarrett, you know, more athletic, but there's a skill set that I have that will put me at an advantage over Jarrett, but I have to be mentally in tune and know, okay, if I do this a certain way, if I handle him, if I use the angles of the game, then I'd be just fine. So I just knew a lot of those kids wasn't being taught, and I felt like it wasn't fair to them. And what pretty much was happening was, I felt like a lot of kids were just getting bullied and picked on. So I reached out to my homie to see if I could train offensive linemen, and it just kind of took off from there.
Okay. So tell us one of your success stories from anything. From, you know, you talked about, you've got so many different irons in the fire. Sounds very familiar.
I think one success story.
So success story.
It's a couple of success stories, but one that sticks out, man, for me is just like, you know, my first Game Day Foundation kid, where, you know, game day preparation is what we train. You know, it's a for-profit. We train kids, whoever wants to train or whatever. The Game Day Foundation is, you know, to be able to train foster kids. So a kid was recommended to us. He was 7 years old at the time, and I've been working with kids in foster care for almost like 10 years now. So I kind of saw that there was a need for it. They needed something, because I had one kid who was just 6'2", like he was like a walking scholarship. He had never played the game before. So my brain just kind of started racing, like, yo, how can we, you know, give these kids another outlet or another opportunity to kind of make it? Because, you know, when a kid is in foster care, sometimes they just kind of accept this fate that, hey, nobody cares about me, I'm in foster care, you know, and we're trying to encourage them to go to school, but in their mind, they're like, why should I get an education, bro? Why? For what? And I could understand why there's a lack of motivation there. You know what I mean? So one kid was recommended to us. He was 7 years old at the time, man. He started coming out, you know, working with the regular kids, and we just kind of, you know, I kind of know how to handle them, like the balance between, you know, being tough on them and, you know, nurturing them a little bit. And so it was cool, bro. I used to pick him up from the shelter and bring him out to train, and he started getting better. He was more excited about it. We took him shopping to get his first pair of cleats. We used to always lace him up with game day apparel. And it was cool, man. And, you know, my other partner who started Game Day to train running backs, he had worked his way up to training pros at this time. So he was training Lamar Miller, who was with the Texans at the time. Lamar Miller out of University of Miami, drafted by the Miami Dolphins, played for the Houston Texans. And so
he played with Storm. Yep. He played Storm Johnson. That's my guy.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So I was able to work it out to where you know, he was training Lamar on, you know, right here on one side, and I was training a 7-year-old, and that's when I started using my visualization tools. Like, hey, you can do that, right? Can't you? So he's watching Lamar work, doing these different drills, and I'm talking to him like, yeah, you can do that, can't you? He's like, nah, you know, like, but I'm like, yeah, you can. You've done it before. And so as he's watching, he's starting to build his confidence, starting like, yeah, you know what, I can do that because we worked those same drills before. It just wasn't around a pro guy. You know what I mean? So it just worked out to where when Lamar was done training, like he got a chance to meet with the kid and they played catch and stuff like that. It was just a really dope moment for me, even though the kid was probably too young to understand what was happening. But that's a pretty cool success story, man, for me, just to kind of put him in that environment. Like I used to take him to football games. I brought him to media day with my high school guys, just to kind of get him to see something different. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times it's about planting seeds and, you know, different experiences. I remember one time I was taking him, dropping it back off to the shelter, and I had asked him, you know, hey, you look at that, because we passed the Dolphin Stadium, you know, for him to go to his shelter. So I asked him if he ever been inside the stadium before. He was just like, nah. And so from then I was able to take him to media day, which was at the stadium, take him to a couple of Hurricanes games and stuff like that, just to kind of get him, just to kind of, you know, just to plant that seed, man. Because a lot of times when you plant a seed, man, it kind of, that idea starts to grow. And these kids get kind of curious about it, which is why I love working with kids. It's better to work with kids because they're more sponges, as opposed to when you're an adult, you're kind of setting your way through your experiences and traumas.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Man.
Love it.
Now put the cameras on me, 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 put the cameras on me.